one. Harden for three, yes! And here's Harden, got the step. Oh, what a move!
NBA fans have come to know James Harden as one of the finest offensive superstars we've ever seen. A bearded flamethrower. But Harden wasn't always projected to be the kind of alpha star who's factored into virtually every MVP race over the last 8 years. So how did the guy drafted after Hasheem Thabeet go from 6th man of the year to NBA MVP? This is the story behind James Harden. Harden was born James Harden Jr. to Monia Willis and James Harden Sr. in 1989. According to a 2016 Texas Monthly profile of the beard, Harden cut the Jr. from his name when he came to the realization that his father, a former Navy SEAL bouncing in and out of prison on drug charges, wasn't going to be a consistent part of his life. As a youngster, Harden got shots up on an adjustable Little Tikes basket his mother bought for him. And as a 7th grader, the young hooper, who played at the same Boys and Girls Club as a fellow LA youngster named Russell Westbrook, wrote Willis a letter that has since been made famous by Adidas. Young Harden capped off that letter with a bit of foreshadowing. The Compton product first began to turn heads on the court at Artesia High in Lakewood, California, where Harden led the Pioneers to back-to-back state championships and earned McDonald's All-American honors in his senior year. And it wasn't just at the high school level where Harden was stacking championships. He led his AAU team, Pump and Run Elite, in the Las Vegas Adidas Super 64 Championship, beating teams led by Kevin Love and Michael Beasley. Still, Harden was only the 14th ranked recruit in the 2007 class, sandwiched between Costa Koufos and Anthony Randolph, before committing to Arizona State.
He throws it away. Harden the steal and the finish. Second time.
As a freshman, Harden began to show just how ridiculous those rankings can be, as he took a Sun Devils team picked to finish 9th in the Pac-10 to the NIT quarterfinals after a 21-13 season, was named first team All Pac-10, and earned himself a Sports Illustrated cover going into his sophomore season. It was that second and final season at Arizona State that cemented Harden's status as a top-tier NBA draft pick, as he dropped a 40-piece on UTEP only a couple weeks into the season.
Here's your 40-point. There it is.
Averaged better than 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists while dragging the Sun Devils to the second round of the NCAA tournament, a place they haven't been in the 11 years since, and was named both Pac-10 Player of the Year and a consensus All-American.
It's a nightmare of a matchup for anyone trying to guard him one-on-one.
And he got that one to fall.
Harden went on to be selected 3rd overall in a stacked 2009 NBA draft.
With the 3rd pick in the 2009 NBA draft, the Oklahoma City Thunder select James Harden.
Behind only Blake Griffin and Thabeet. Yeah, the Grizzlies probably want that one back. But he landed in the perfect spot. An Oklahoma City Thunder team bursting at the seams with young talent like Kevin Durant, Westbrook, and Serge Ibaka. In many ways, Harden's arrival was the finishing touch on general manager Sam Presti's emerging masterpiece, transforming the Thunder from merely a team with potential to a legitimate team to be reckoned with now.
To struggle, Lamar Odom is now 0 for 3 in this one and a non-factor in the first 3.
James Harden and 1.
OKC went from 23-59 cellar dweller in the first season of the KD Westbrook combo to 50-32 playoff team in Harden's rookie season, with Harden emerging as a super sub. That trend would continue over the next couple of seasons, and by Harden's 3rd year in the league, he was averaging 16.8 points on sizzling 49, 39, 85 shooting splits to take home 6th Man of the Year honors. He was also an invaluable component of postseason runs to the West Finals in 2011 and all the way to the NBA Finals in 2012. Go back and rewatch Oklahoma City's stunning comeback from 2-0 down in the 2012 West Finals over San Antonio, and you'll find Harden's fingerprints everywhere.
Clock to 5. Harden for 3, yes!
In the Thunder's 4 wins in that series, the team was plus 64 with Harden on the court and minus 25 when he sat. But through those 3 seasons, Harden started just 7 total regular season games and 0 playoff games. If the Thunder were in the process of building the NBA's next Spurs-like dynasty, Harden, a slithery lefty reserve with a bit of a herky-jerky game, was the natural Ginobili piece of the puzzle. But with all due respect to Manu, the basketball gods, and Harden himself, had bigger plans for the Beard. After losing to Miami in the 2012 finals, Harden and the Thunder entered into extension negotiations. If the two parties couldn't reach an agreement by the end of October, Harden would have been slated for restricted free agency the following summer. The Thunder, who had already locked up Durant and Westbrook in previous years, who added a big money extension for Ibaka during the summer of 2012, and who refused to amnesty their overpay for Kendrick Perkins, Kendrick Perkins, were reportedly offering Harden a 4-year deal in the neighborhood of $55.5 million, which was a little shy of the $60 million max contract Harden coveted. Now, some have argued that Harden should have been willing to compromise and budge from his maximum demands. After all, he was talking about $4.5 million, while that same $4.5 million would have cost the Thunder more after luxury tax payments. Remember, teams who enter into luxury tax territory pay more than just a dollar-for-dollar charge for money spent above the league's tax threshold. According to a projection from the Oklahomans' Barry Trammell back in 2012, with Harden in the mix, the Thunder would have been about $9 million over that threshold, but their luxury tax bill would have been $15.75 million. But put yourself in Harden's shoes, a young millionaire with a limited earnings window who correctly bet on the fact his incumbent team failed to understand his true value. The Thunder may be a small market team, but they're still owned by business magnates whose net worths range from the hundreds of millions to the billions. Those guys should have been more willing to pony up given how close the team was to the cusp of sustained greatness. That cheapness almost definitely cost the Thunder championships in OKC. The Thunder traded Harden rather than maxing him out, sending him to the Rockets in a blockbuster that brought back Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, and draft picks that eventually turned into Steven Adams, Alex Abrinas, and Mitch McGary.
I mean, this is going to be a major shock to Oklahoma City's system that James Harden all of a sudden 2-3 days before the season started is gone. You know, the conventional wisdom again was, okay, maybe they won't come to an extension by Wednesday's deadline, but then the Thunder can play this season out, keeping their team intact, and deal with this in the summertime. You let Harden become a restricted free agent, decide if you want to match one of these max offers, maybe let somebody else go to try to make financial room to keep Harden. They could have bought themselves time if they let this thing go past Halloween, but they decided not to. They decided to jump on a pretty big offer that they could get now. You have to ask yourself, what is this going to do to their locker room? How long is it going to take the Thunder to deal with the shock of this move?
Harden got his max money from Houston, where analytics guru Daryl Morey could see the historic efficiency lying within, and the Beard was officially unleashed.
12 assists, will hang on to it. Puts it down, drives it, scoops it, scores it, and draws a foul. What a debut for the bearded James Harden.
In his first 2 games with the Rockets, Harden scored a combined 82 points on nearly 64% shooting, en route to becoming a 25 points per game scorer and an all-star during his first season in Houston. And just like his arrival in OKC, the Rockets went from 34-win lottery team to 45-win playoff team in Harden's first season with the club, losing to the Thunder, ironically enough, in the first round, with Houston growing into a perennial 50-win team behind Harden's transcendent scoring. In fact, despite joining non-playoff teams in Oklahoma City in 2009 and in Houston 3 years later, Harden has yet to miss the postseason in his 11-year career. And it's not hard to understand why. Hate on his foul-baiting, step-back happy game all you want. The fact is, between that incredible shot-making his craftiness getting to the rim, and yes, his very real, almost uncanny ability to get to the free throw line, Harden is just about unstoppable as a scorer.
Javon Carter drawing the defensive assignment, and Harden way
On top of that, he's also one of the game's best passers and sharpest playmakers, who just so happens to create the best looks for his teammates, often open corner threes. Because as I unfortunately once put it on live TV,
if you're playing with James Harden, you're going to get a ton of open corner threes just because he creates those. Like, he sucks the D in, and like he sucks the defense.
Good one. Now, staying for a moment on R-rated material, anyone who's done their homework on James Harden knows the bearded superstar has earned himself a reputation for, shall we say, enjoying himself.
James has his jersey like hanging from the top.
Yo, what's up with this jersey hanging thing?
No, they was doing that because they said James just be going in there spinning, like, you know what I mean? So they gave him his own jersey hanging from the rafters of the strip club.
This reputation has taken on such a life force that one viral 2019 Reddit study seeked to find a correlation between Harden's performance and a given city's strip club quality. Look, unless you're a teammate or in Harden's close inner circle, it's impossible to say for certain whether he likes to party more than any other young millionaire athlete in the prime of his or her life. But one thing you can't deny, and a big part of the reason so many plugged-in types marvel at Harden's excellence, is that whatever he does on his personal time doesn't seem to affect his on-court performance, no matter what that aforementioned Reddit investigation found. Harden, who has missed only 42 games combined in 11 seasons as a pro, has averaged at least 25 points per game in 8 consecutive seasons. Mike D'Antoni arrived on the scene in 2016, turned Harden into more of a point guard, and watched the Beard lead the league in assists in his first season handling that responsibility.
Harden, great dish underneath. Capella drops it in, plus a foul.
By the time you watch this, he'll have locked up his 3rd straight scoring title, and in 2019, became the first player in 32 years to average at least 36 points per game. It's no wonder then that the Rockets have mostly been a contending mainstay boasting an elite offense since Harden landed in Houston 8 years ago. But it hasn't always been easy to keep him or his teammates happy. Morey has had to shuffle fellow stars in and out over the years in his quest to build a championship squad around Harden. In 2013, the Rockets signed Dwight Howard and ripped off consecutive seasons of 54 wins and 56 wins respectively, advancing all the way to the Western Conference Finals in 2015. But one of the lasting images of that 2015 playoff run was that of Harden on the bench while Houston rallied back from a huge deficit to avoid elimination against the Clippers in Game 6 of the West Semis.
An incredible 34-point swing in this one. Paul finally knocks one down, and that will do it. One of the most stunning comebacks for a team facing elimination in the history of the NBA.
Harden and Howard's relationship seemed to sour the following season, though both deny any beef ever existed. And the Rockets stumbled to a 41-win season before being eliminated by the Warriors for a 2nd consecutive spring, this time in the first round.
That's a fitting conclusion to the season. 114-81. Golden State advances to the...
The Rockets traded for Chris Paul in 2017, became a league-leading 65-win juggernaut behind their star-studded backcourt, and Harden finally took home league MVP honors after finishing runner-up in 2 of the previous 3 seasons. The Rockets even had the mighty Warriors on the ropes in the West Finals, with no team coming closer than Houston to eliminating the fully healthy Warriors featuring all 4 of Steph Curry, Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. But Houston blew a 3-2 series lead thanks to an untimely hamstring injury for Paul and an unfathomable 27 consecutive missed 3-pointers in Game 7, of which Harden missed 10 of those 27.
It's hard to be forced to 3. Is there a point, Reggie, where you stop shooting?
Just as a West Finals trip served as the beginning of the end for Harden's partnership with Howard, the same can be said for the dynamic duo he forged with Paul. The Rockets still won 53 games in 2018-19, and Harden finished top 2 in MVP voting again, while setting the league on fire with his scoring. But the Rockets just didn't have the same vibe around them as they did in the first year of the Harden-Paul partnership. The relationship between the guards disintegrated, and after being eliminated by the Warriors again, this time to a banged-up squad without KD, the writing was on the wall. The Harden-CP3 combo averaged 59 wins and won 3 playoff series in 2 seasons, but was not going to see a year 3. Yahoo Sports' Vincent Goodwill reported that Paul saw the relationship as unsalvageable, and that Harden told the Rockets to choose between them. Paul was moved to Oklahoma City in the latest Rockets blockbuster, this one reuniting Harden with childhood friend and ex-Thunder teammate Westbrook. While the fit didn't look great out the gate, after a slow start, Harden, Westbrook, and the Rockets are just about back to where Houston has become a fixture. The team was on pace for 51 wins and in the thick of the West's tight playoff pack, while Harden was leading the league in scoring by averaging 34.4 points on a true shooting percentage of 61.6. He also took some time to beef with reigning MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, which you can learn all about in a previous episode of Unfiltered. The Rockets, who went all in on small ball when they traded Clint Capella at the deadline, entered the Disney restart as a flawed secondary contender, but a contender nonetheless. For Harden, who will soon turn 32. For skinny Harden, who looks like he's transforming into Moses post-burning bush. This postseason is another chance to further solidify a somewhat confounding legacy. On one hand, he's an MVP caliber superstar and legendary scorer cruising to Springfield. On the other hand, his plethora of runner-up finishes in MVP voting and his many postseason heartbreaks in both Houston and OKC paint the picture of a career defined by the old saying, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It doesn't help that Harden's oft-memed defensive shortcomings and his worst playoff performances have been held up as some sort of proof that you can't win a title with the beard leading the way. But that's too simplistic of a view. For one, while he does get lost too often off the ball, Harden's actually not as bad as you think he is defending on ball. And his freakish strength makes him one of the best post defenders at his side.
We're hitting a single game, and we're not even to the fourth quarter yet. He's got 23 points, does Ben McLemore. Really good defense on Siakam.
And yeah, he's had some playoff stinkers and his efficiency dips that time of year. But you can say that for just about every player on the planet. We're still talking about a guy who has averaged roughly 28 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals on above average efficiency in his Rockets postseason career. Numbers no other player can match during that time. With Houston performing more than 10 points per 100 possessions better when Harden's on the court during those 7 playoff runs. Luckily for our sake as basketball fans, Harden should get plenty more kicks at the can, as his durability and his ground-bound, almost slow-motion game seem to lend themselves to longevity. So how many more scoring titles, MVPs, 50-win seasons, and postseason opportunities does Harden have left in him? Who knows? But one thing we can say for certain is that whenever he decides to call it quits, even if that day was today, after a career that's included an MVP, a 6th Man of the Year award, 8 All-Star selections, soon to be 7 All-NBA selections, 11 straight playoff trips, and an Olympic gold medal, James Harden's jersey and his number will one day be hanging in the rafters of more than just strip clubs. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.